So, yeah, finally, next weekend we have some really good fights or matchups coming up. Yeah, it's been a while. Well, early this month there were a few fights also worth watching and talking about, but the last two weekends were pretty weak, of course. So now they've chosen to close November with the strongest card of the month. So, first fight I will be talking about predicting is Zach Parker versus John Ryder for the interim WBO Super Middleweight title. Alright, so Zach Parker here is the younger man, also the taller man. And, but yeah, it's pretty much all he's gotten Ryder really. Ryder has more experience. He's fought the better opponents and beaten also some of them. Like in his last fight, he beat Daniel Jacobs, of course, Danny. And he also gave Callum Smith a very tough fight before that. Yeah, so I see he's also knocked out Jamie Cox, who also fought George Gross and etc. Yeah, he's only been stopped once. That was in 2015 against Nick Blackwell in 7 rounds TKO. Right. So he's 34 years rider now. 31 and 5 with 17 knockouts. Yeah. So he's well against better fighters anyway. He's maybe not a really hard puncher, but still he's a strong guy, who brings a lot of pressure, and uses his advantages. With being a smaller guy, he's usually more mobile than his taller opponents. So he's good in using that movement, and to push his opponents around. Also to be able to attack them from all angles, pretty much. That's why Callum Smith struggles so much against him. And this guy has got really good chin. So as I said, he was stopped once. I don't know what happened there. Maybe he got cut or something, probably. And yeah, that was some time ago. While Zach Parker, he's 22 and 0 undefeated. He's got the power, 16 knockouts. He's won his last five fights by stoppage. But he hasn't yet beaten anyone really good. So there are question marks, just how good he is. He's beaten a few guys that were like decent names, like Luke Blackledge and Gyard Ayatoch. So Rohan Murdoch also. But nothing of the caliber that Ryder has. Like Jacobs. For instance. Yeah. So I think even though Ryder he's now getting close to the age where most boxers are past their best. I think he has proven that he is still at his best, and yeah, he's simply a really hard opponent for anybody, and I don't see how. One thing I don't see if I don't think Zach Parker can knock him out just like that. It probably will hurt him at least once, if not more than that, and he may score a knockdown. So if that happens, I can see Parker winning, by decision. But you know, Ryder has looked so good, in the last 3, 4 years, so strong, that his only loss since 2017 is to Callum Smith, in a tough, close fight, So, yeah, I think Parker, even though I don't know all that too much about him, I haven't seen him fight so much, so many times, but he will have to really put on a great performance to win this. Simple as that, because Ryder doesn't let anybody just use him as a stepping stone. He's not there just to collect paychecks. And put it that way, He's there to give you a beating, to give you a true test. So actually, I don't know, but I think it's kind of right now. It kind of seems dangerous to bet against John Ryder. So, but anything can happen, of course. So I think this might even turn out to be a draw or something. But I think still Ryder will probably snatch it. Will probably win on points here. Yeah, I don't know if he can also score a knockout. Who knows? But probably not. But everything is possible. As I said, I don't think Parker can knock him out. So that's how it goes anyway. Alright, so next we have a few fights on this Wembley card. This one was at the O2. And at Wembley we got Fabio Wardley fighting Nathan Gorman for a British heavyweight title, which is vacant. So I'm gonna be quick here. I just don't see any way how Gorman can beat Wardley. Wardley is simply too much for him. Too fast, too hard punching, everything, And Gorman is not really, well, I guess he had some power, but he's not really a hard puncher either. He's more of a guy who, wins by boxing and applying some, just outworking, his opponent. So I think actually Worley will knock him out, just like Dubois did. But Worley is even faster than Dubois, so it may happen before the fifth round actually. But maybe, I don't know, at least I don't think it will happen before fourth or something like that, third or fourth round. But maybe it will be go a little longer than that because yeah, um, Worley doesn't have the bulk, the strength of Dubois. That was a big factor why Dubois was able to bully, Gorman and defeat him so easily, you might say. But still, as I said, Worley is faster. He's got a better athleticism than Dubois. So it may happen quick, rather quick. So I think Worley wins by a knockout between rounds 3 and 7. That's my prediction. And then before we go to the main fight, there's one more. Dillian White returning after the devastating loss to Tyson Fury. He's fighting Jermaine Franklin, who is unbeaten at 21-0. Yeah, I've never really heard of this guy before, so I don't know what to expect from Franklin. He is smaller than White. He's also younger, 29, and White is 35. So I think White probably is past his prime now. He fought had such a poor performance against Fury before that he was knocked out by Povetkin. Even though he avenged that loss, Povetkin was already like 42, I think. Yeah, something like 41, 42. I don't know. So, yeah, it wasn't such a great victory, maybe as they made out his fans anyway. White has always kind of demonstrated lack of defensive skills. He's been down. For instance, against Oscar Rivas, a smaller guy. Even though he's still a dangerous guy, but he has taken some punishment and has been knocked out 3 times already. So who knows? Maybe Franklin can make the upset, but I don't know really. I wouldn't count. I see now that he didn't. He failed to stop this guy who has been since knocked out so many times, and his name is Pavel Sur. He actually had to go the distance against him. So yeah, he only beat of more familiar names CV Jerry Forrest by split decision and Rydell Booker by unanimous. Yeah, this. I think this fight is supposed to be it's meant as an easier like comeback fight for White. So if he wins that, he can again try to challenge for a bigger, simply push for a bigger fight. Doesn't have to be necessarily for a world title, but I think he simply passed his, I mean, past that stage when he was, world title material, world title class fighter. Because he was, I would say, slightly always was slightly overrated actually. And I remember the fight with Chisora when he had their first fight. I had Chisora winning that fight, even though they gave it to White. That was, I thought, nonsense. He didn't deserve that decision at all. And he's not really a good technical fighter either. He's just a puncher and a swinger. Like you might compare him to someone like Mayorga. For instance, a strong guy just swings, and that's how he wins by punching out his opponent. And that's what White is. He's been trying. They've been trying to kind of convert him, I guess, into a boxer puncher, but that didn't go so well. He was knocked out by Povetkin, who was at the end of his career. So yeah, he will always have defensive weaknesses and flaws. That's why he also, he got knocked out 3 times. Yeah. So, but still here, probably he will get this fight, especially if it goes to the scorecards. I think Franklin might even give him some tough time in this fight, actually. Yeah, actually, I don't know really. Unless he knocks him out like early enough, like within 6 or 7 rounds, I think White will have to go the distance in this fight. So that would be my prediction. But anyway, he's most likely to win here still, because I don't really think Franklin is so, I don't really rate him yet anyway. Alright, and finally, the big fight is Regis Prograis and Jose Zepeda for WBC, for the vacant WBC super lightweight or light welterweight title. Yeah, wow. I haven't seen Prograis fight for a while, and I haven't seen any of his fights after the loss to Taylor, and which he had three, won them all by stoppage. But it wasn't really like none of his opponents were really like world class. Sorry, and Zepeda he is 35-2, 27 knockouts. And his last loss was to Jose Carlos Ramirez. Yeah, he's had more fights than definitely than Prograis lately, and he also knocked out Ivan Baranchik in 2020, which was the knockout of the year, of course. Or was it the fight of the year? Doesn't matter really. Yeah, it was the fight of the year actually. Yeah. So he beat Henry Lundy and Josue Vargas also by So you know that he's been slightly more active, you know, if nothing. He also beat Jose Pedraza actually. All right, that was a major victory, of course. After the loss, his only second loss so far. Yeah, you know, of course, many guys will favor Prograis, you know, in this fight, but you know what I saw in Prograis that fight when he fought Taylor was that he simply sometimes, especially when not fighting at home, you know, he kind of didn't give it all in that fight. You know, he kind of froze in the first half, especially. He was too passive, too not too inactive for two large parts of the fight, and that's why he lost, of course. I don't know really what happened that night. He just wasn't himself. He kind of surrendered to Taylor at first anyway for 6, 7 rounds, and then he kind of started to come back, but it wasn't enough, of course. I had a fight clearly for Taylor, you know. I believe I gave him 8 rounds or something. I don't. So yeah, I think that was a really one of his worst performance, clearly, because even though he lost to, of course, one of the best fighters, the best anyway, 140, still. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, he just he showed that he isn't always, you know, what he's supposed to be, and that is, you know, a totally badass fighter, a destroyer, you know, type. So here, you know, he's facing another really good destroyer type fighter, a brawler, you know, and yeah, that's right. He Cepeda has actually never yet been a world champion for real, but this time maybe he can even accomplish that because I think he'll be pretty determined, you know. Because Prograis has already been the world champion, you know, and he's held that WBA title, yeah, and WBC Diamond title as well. Yeah, yeah, know, it's kind of hard, you know. Both guys are the same age, they are same height. uh, well, Zepeda has a really kind of big reach advantage, but other than that, they are pretty similar, you know, in fighting style and all that size. And yeah, yeah, they are. Perhaps Prograis is a slightly better boxer technically than Cepeda, maybe, but yeah, maybe probably. So that might be the decisive factor. You know, I don't know really. I actually would like to see Cepeda win this just because he never had a world title before, and he's been fighting really hard for. He's been fighting quite long also now. But yeah, I think probably wins because he simply, despite that loss to Taylor, he's simply been a true force, you know, of nature, a true force, and a force. And even though Zepeda is also a guy who has destroyed a few, you know, really good fighters, he's still, you know, he has lost more than once, even though first time was due to bad luck. But I mean, let's put it this way. Yeah, I mean, if you want triangle theories, Zepeda lost to Ramirez, right? And Ramirez lost to Josh Taylor, and Prograis lost to Josh Taylor. But I believe Prograis would have beaten Ramirez actually. So that's the difference. Even though Cepeda wasn't really like clearly beaten by Ramirez, but he still did lose. It was a majority decision. So there you go. I think still Pereira is just a little bit better, but will he be as good as he used to be this Saturday? That's the big question. Will this, uh, well, let's say, relative lack of activity in comparison to the pair, will it affect him? That's something we'll see. But anyway, I slightly lean more towards Progray points, twin on points here. So that would be all for now. Thank you. Bye bye.